we ready? Let's go. Planning a youth night. So if you guys are going to be volunteering in the Ignite or the Spark Nights, they're going to be following this motto, which basically comes straight from Life Team. And they follow the model of gather, proclaim, break, and send. And we're going to explain all of those. What is a youth night? Youth nights are youth group gatherings where teens build community, grow in their knowledge of the Catholic faith, and discuss real-world issues with Catholic lenses. There's 3 basic types of youth nights. Those are the doctrinal or the more catechetical nights, the more teaching nights. Issue nights where we might talk about what's happening in actual teens' lives right now. You know,
like this past Wednesday was an issue night.
What's that?
The past.
Yes, the past one was one that we're talking about gay marriage and how I wasn't there, but that's an issue. That's a present issue that we're all kind of faced with, and that your friends might ask you questions about. And then there's also socials. The socials aren't really going to be following any kind of format. They're just going to be basic social nights. For the doctrinal youth nights, for the teaching nights, they all come from the USCCB curriculum framework for high school catechesis. And so each one of those youth nights are going to fall underneath, they're going to fall underneath one of these categories: Scripture and Revelation, Person of Christ, Paschal Mystery, the Church, the Sacraments, Morality, Social Justice, and Vocations. And the great thing about these youth nights, you don't really realize that they're following these frameworks. You don't really realize they're falling under these categories. Because they're all presented in a really fun way. They're all presented in ways that you're like, oh, yeah, I guess we did learn about that, They're kind of exciting. Yeah, they are exciting. So issue youth nights, they deal with real world issues, like we said, talking about drugs, dating, chastity, bullying, theology of the body, and like was talked about last Wednesday was the gay marriage. And then the socials. I said those aren't going to be following any type of structure. Those are just going to be fun nights to build community and to really get together. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Okay, so the gather, the proclaim, the break, and the send. If you notice, that follows the same pattern as the Mass actually follows. Then that's what it's structured for. In Mass we gather, we participate in the liturgy of the Word. That's the proclaim. We break, not necessarily taking a break, but we're diving deeper, we're breaking it open, we're breaking the bread right there in Mass, bless you. And then the send, we're being sent forth to continue on what we've taken part of in the Mass. Here we're going to continue on to take part in what we've just learned in these nights. So, the pregame, the gather, let's see, we're going to, prior to youth night taking place, there are things you need to consider. Josh talked about this. Publicity of youth night, so email, texts, phone calls, etc., social media, Facebook, getting people on there, nudging people, hey, you gonna come tonight? Hey, I want to see you there. Hey, make sure you're there, or this. Core interaction. What's that? All right. Personally invite them. Really, this is where you guys really come in. Like Josh said earlier, you guys want to really make sure that your friends are there. And not just your friends, but people you know. I mean, most of you guys have been part of Star of the Sea for a long time. You guys know other families. You know that, whose kids are involved and whose kids aren't. So go up to those families that you know and say, hey, it would be really great to see you there. And it makes a big difference to personally invite somebody, especially if they might not have any interest one way or the other. So the gather is, there's 3 major movements within it. There's the environment, hospitality, and community building. We'll get into each one of those. For the environment, the first thing that the teens notice when you walk into a room, just to let you know though, you are going to be having to kind of downsize the timing for the youth night. So in going through all of these and seeing what you're going to do, you're going to have to see where you might have to shave off a little bit of time. The environment's really important. It is the first thing that the teens are going to see when they walk into a room. So depending on what the night is, there's going to be suggestions saying, hey, this night's about, one great example is, there's one youth night about, called No Matter How Small, Who's seen the Horton Hears a Who or read the book, or you know, it's a kind of an abortion, talking about abortion, right? But a person's a person no matter how small. So one thing they might call for, I know specifically I've done this one, so they call for you to make the room, make everything really big in the room. So like I cut out blades of grass, or you know, up to here, and like just everything, huge mushrooms, huge flowers, you know, making it so when you walk into the room you feel like really, really small because everything around you is really big. So, you know, that kind of goes along with the theme of the night, and then it'll break it open more, and we realize, oh, hey, we're actually talking about abortion tonight. But, you know, that takes a lot of time too, so that's going to really involve a lot of planning and deciding, is this worth even doing tonight, you know? Do we want to make it more serious, or is it going to be more light? So you have to take all these into consideration when you are setting it up. But it doesn't have to be as elaborate as that. It can just be music playing in the background, maybe dim lighting if it's going to be a serious night. Have the seating already set up if you're going to do videos, video loops, audio-visual, banners, costumes. You could be wearing costumes. I mean, everybody who's been to confirmation knows that costumes are, you know, something that might have to happen. Costumes for the core, so not just, you know, that includes peer leaders there too. It's not just for, you know, having the teens actually dress up in something. It's the core making fools of themselves. But also in the gather, there's the whole hospitality aspect of it too. And this is really the key each night. Every time somebody comes in, make them feel welcome. Especially coming from, I mean, it's one thing for the adults to do it, and that's very important too. The adults want to make each of the teens feel welcome, but just coming from you guys, from the teen aspect of it, they want to feel like there's other teens there that care that I'm there. You know, there's other people that actually notice that I'm here. You know, like, so it gives them a little bit of accountability as well. Like, maybe I won't show up this night, but I might really be disappointing Kayla if I don't show up, because I know she's really going to be looking forward to seeing me. Or, you know, I might really disappoint Mark if I'm not here. So, you know, just gives them a little bit of you guys are popular people, you know. It gives them a little bit of accountability on showing up each week. So, so make everyone feel welcome. Introduce yourself if you don't know anybody. If you don't know who this new person is that just showed up, make sure you introduce yourself and let them know that you're really glad that they showed up. And if you see them alone, like, introduce them, get to know them a little bit, and introduce them to other people you think they might have similar interests to. Like, oh, hey, you know, this person plays violin, this person plays violin, you know, or this person goes to Olympic High School, this person goes to Olympic High School. So it's a matter of getting to know the teens and really realizing what they might have in common, and so you can introduce teens that are like, all right, I'm here, my mom made me come, I'm really nervous about being here, I don't know anybody, I don't want to be here, so, you know, you're going to find them sitting in the corner like this the whole time, kind of looking around, like, just get this hour over with so I can go home and see my real friends, but, you know, make them realize that there's people there that they have something in common with, too. Community building. This is the fun part of the gather. All of it's fun, obviously, but this is where you get to really have fun, and it's kind of the introductory event. It's a skit, it's a trivia, it's puzzles, it's games, contest videos, minute to win it game, you know, the Kleenex box around your belt, you know, and try and get ping pong balls out of, I don't know if you guys think that anyway, but just funny, it's fun ways to really just introduce the night in one way. You know, a lot of times the team will come in and like, what the heck does this have to do with what we're going to be learning today? But at the end of the night, they're like, oh, I get it. Like, oh, that's catchy, that's creative. And here's the trick to it. We actually have a cheat sheet to this. You're not having to come up with all of this on your own, and neither are the adults, thank goodness. So here is an example of a life night. Here we go. One. Can you not see it? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me make it bigger.
The math was just confusing.
Okay. Yes, and you have to make sure you figure out how that works. Okay. What's that?
Yep.
All right. So I'm just using an example to show you. This is not. I'm not going over the next night or anything. So I haven't been to the life nights. Sorry, Josh. I babysit on Wednesday nights. Anyway. So have you guys seen the layout then? You saw this last week, so you have an idea of what this looks like? And the adults had no idea. They're like, what are we doing? What do we have to come up with? So it talks about the goal for the night. There's a parental notice. It tells you how to set up the environment. So it's not like, oh, how are we going to make this creative? You see that? Media suggestions, what you can, YouTube videos you can watch. I don't know if you guys did any of that. So I'll talk to you about that later. So you don't have to come up with it on your own, but you don't have to use it exactly either. You can format this in any way that you see might make it more effective, or might make it less complicated, or might make it, meeting the time restrictions that you're going to have. So you're not bound to this. These are just suggestions that, and a lot of times they're really, really great suggestions that you can work with. All right, let's go over to the gather. Where am I? This one. There it is. How do I make that big?
F7.
F7. What?
Oops, that's not right. F4. No. Go to the slideshow. I'm sorry.
You guys go through 12.
Slideshow. No, there's a little button down there at the very bottom.
I see it.
Yeah, that one.
Got it. It's all different formatting. Okay, so the next aspect of it, we've gone through the gather. That's the first part of it. That normally takes up the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on what is actually happening that night. And then after that is the proclaim. Like I said earlier, just as the word of God is proclaimed at Mass, the message of the youth night is proclaimed during this section of the youth night. Just as Scripture is meant to teach and instruct the church as a living body of truth, youth night teachings are meant to speak truth on catechetical teachings, cultural issues, and social situations that teens face in their daily walk. That is straight from my team. Youth night proclaims should be taught with conviction, personal belief, and understanding. And it's really important that they incorporate personal testimony into that as well. And I think for you guys that were on a confirmation retreat, you guys really can see how that really brings it together, and how once you see it in someone else's life, it really hits home a lot better for you guys. So same is going to be true for the other teens as well. They can be taught by a variety of people. And this is where you guys don't have to worry about it too much, because yes, you might be called on for personal testimony, but as for the actual teachings, it's going to be a core member, or it's going to be Josh or one of the catechists, like Mr. Herring or something like that. So for the actual teachings, you guys get to just learn more. Yay! Each planning team will have an assigned catechist, just like I mentioned. They do not normally attend the planning meetings though. So if there is something that you think should really be included in that maybe it's not written out on the actual life night planning guide sheet, like make a note of it. Make sure that that message gets to whoever's going to be, whoever's actually going to be giving the talk. This is the whole reason you guys are here. We want your insight. We want to know what's going to be most applicable to the teens. So if you guys have something to add that you think is really relevant and that the teens need to hear, make sure that you kind of make a note of that and make sure you
And if you really want to do some teaching, we can probably work that out.
Yeah.
But you won't be expected to.
Right. I mean, if there is a message that you guys really want to get out there, especially if it doesn't call for a witness talk, but you guys say I've got the perfect example of this, and you guys want to talk about it.
Speak up.
Yeah. During the planning meeting, let the core team know.
Adults.
So we can tell Josh or tell whoever the catechist is. So maybe they can limit their time and give you that allotted time to really say what you want to say. When you do, just a guide though, if you do have something you want to say, maybe, you don't have to write it up, but maybe I would suggest, making bullet points or something to help guide your talk, and also so the adults know what you're going to be saying, so, we can maybe guide you one way or the other, if maybe like, oh, let's not mention that, or, oh, maybe, I don't know, so we can just help you out, or mostly Josh can help you out, because we just want to make sure that everything is in line with where we're going. So, presenting a proclaim can be done in various ways. There can be tag team talks, debates, pre-made videos, skits, and if it's not a teaching, like a very formal, Mr. Herring up here talking to everybody as everyone's sitting down, attention to this thing, it can be done like in a skit. It can be done through, like I said, through testimonies. It can be done through debates. So if it's done in a skit, yeah, that's something you're going to have a part of, I'm sure. If it's done in question and answers, you guys are definitely part of that. You guys can raise questions. You guys can try and answer questions as well. So there's lots of different ways, and that's all something that, you know, it might have suggestions in the Life Teen actual planning guide, or you guys can come up with these suggestions on your own as well. Okay, an effective proclaim or youth talk must do 3 things. We must communicate your topic, convince the teens that that the topic is truth, and be interesting and engaging. You don't want a whole bunch of teens falling asleep when you're trying to talk. You know, it's kind of demotivating. But let's do. You could blow a blowhorn, and that would really wake them up. But I think what's most important here is you want to convince them. Not convince them. I mean, you want to just show them that this is something you believe in, and this is something that's important to you. So, you know, because that's going to help them realize this isn't just BS that someone's up here saying. This isn't just something, you know, oh, it's good if you do this, it's good if you do that. No, like, this is how we live. This is what's important to all of us as Catholics, and what we all need to, how we all need to live, and what we all need to really believe. So it's not a matter of someone blowing smoke. It's, we believe this, and this is truth, so we want to convey that. Yes. The next section is the break. That's not like, okay, let's take a break, everybody get a snack. That's more of, all right, let's break this open. Let's really dive deeper into it. I know it's deceiving. It's, you know, oftentimes we break into small groups. The break is a time for teens to question and take ownership in the topic presented that night. It's a time where teens can move around, build community, and process everything that they just heard or experienced in the proclaim. It's also a place where the most depth can be reached. The break section of a youth night should accomplish the following: break open topics so teens can apply it to their daily lives, break down personal and spiritual walls, and build up trust within the community. So, ways of accomplishing this is kind of a favorite, small groups, or you can even do large groups. If it's something that you don't necessarily think that is too personal of a topic for the rest of the group, it's cool to kind of just go around, like sit around a big table or just in a big circle, and like everyone just maybe say what they think about it, or you know, maybe what's happening at their school, or blah blah blah. Just that's a good way to kind of break it open and get, you know, it's time for the teens to be learning from the other teens and to really dive deeper in it that way, from a more personal perspective, not just an adult here, you know, blasting things at you. You can break it into just partners, you know, it's like pick a partner, go talk things out, you know, especially if this might be something a little more personal that you don't want to share with a big group. Partner sharing could be really good. There could be questionnaires, journaling. I don't know how many of you journal on your own at home, but it can be really effective, just being able to write things out and to process it as you're writing it. Especially if you just talked about something kind of deep and we just want to think about where we are spiritually, and how this affects us and how this applies to our lives. There's guided meditations, skits, again, there's always skits, commercials, scripture verse reflections, and much, much more. And like I said, I mean, in these life night guides, or youth night guides, there's going to be suggestions on what you can do for the break, but you guys now knowing that there's different ways to approach it, you can suggest different ways. You don't have to go with what's just written there, and you make sure you suggest it to the adults as you guys are planning it. You guys have a voice, and it's an important one, and we want to hear it, so don't be afraid to like, well, you know, it says we should do small groups here, but I really think this could be better, more effective in this. So speak up. We want to hear what you have to say. The send. At the heart of catechesis is a person, and the goal of catechesis is to put young people in a relationship with that person, Jesus Christ. Prayer is the foundation of developing a relationship with Jesus, so prayer must also be the foundation of our youth nights. The send is the time where teens can take the topic and discussions of the night to prayer, as well as be challenged to live for Christ in the coming week. Here are some types of sends that can be done, types of prayer. The send is always going to be done with some type of prayer. because that's, like I said, it's where you really bring it in, where you're bringing it to Christ, and where you're getting prepared to take it on next week, the following week, or the following month, or however you or the teens need it spiritually. And you know, that's another thing. These nights, yes, even if you guys are peer leaders or part of a core team, these are going to be helpful for you guys too. I mean, when I was doing this at the other parish, like, I learned so much that I just didn't know before, or just different ways of approaching things. And you guys are going to grow spiritually just in being able to help out with this and being a part of it. So this isn't just for the teens you guys are helping. I mean, this is all going to be effective for you too. So there's the Divine Mercy Chaplet, there's praying the Rosary during the Liturgy of the Hours, Electio Divina, novenas, even just some meditative time in silence, even with like some kind of, you know, pictures, soft pictures playing in the background, just ways to really meditate and to kind of bring it all in and think about it yourselves. There's offertory, intercession, adoration, prayer cards, prayer partners, and accountability, one-a-days, service, fasting. All right, that is the end of the first one.